Hi, I'm Cameron, and today I'm going to be discussing the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution kicked off in 18th century in Great Britain, and basically, fundamentally, the Industrial Revolution was a turning point in how goods were manufactured. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, the way that people lived was very self sufficient and very self sustainable. They didn't have large companies mass produce things that were just available at their fingertips for everyday life as we do today. To put that in perspective for you, today everything that we use is mass produced to some extent. For example, this iPhone is mass produced. Everything that we use in the classroom is mass produced. Pencils, computers, expo markers, pens. This laptop is mass produced. And prior to the Industrial Revolution, not only did we not have basic technology, but we also didn't have a way to mass produce it. Everything was handmade. And if you have a couple people making things with their hands, it's not going to be a quick process. It's going to be very expensive, not very time efficient, and it's just not really going to be a good way to get things done. And so everyone kind of agreed in the 18th century, and they were like, we have to do something about this, which led to the Industrial Revolution. Now, before I go into it, I would just like to make a note that prior to the Industrial Revolution, 80% of people were farmers, meaning that 80% of the population sustained not only themselves, but the other 20% that did not identify as a farmer with food and basic, produce needs to keep them alive. As of 2013, that number was less than 1%, meaning basically no one is a farmer, and if they are, they're probably really rich. Although the revolution started in Europe, most notably Great Britain, it was taking place all over the world. By the time that Britain had discovered, this is amazing, we're industrializing all these things, the rest of the world caught on very quickly and soon followed behind them. One of the first major turning points in the Industrial Revolution was in 1712 with the invention of the steam engine. This was invented by Thomas Newcomen, although he is not commonly associated with it, as he just invented the baseline general model that other people improved on. The steam engine is very important, not only for that time period, but also for today, as most of the electricity in the world is still powered from a steam engine. Things such as railroads, steamboats, cotton mills, etc. are all powered off of steam engines. Even though it seems like a term that is very outdated, it still is very much around and very much a thing. Aside from the steam engine, other great inventions were made. In 1764, the spinning jenny was invented, which industrialized the way that clothing was made. Prior to that, yarn and thread was unraveled by hand, one ball at a time. But with the invention of the spinning jenny, it was able to unravel more than one ball of yarn or thread at a time, thus making cotton production a lot faster and more simple. 30 years later, in 1794, Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. The machine made it much easier to separate cotton seeds from cotton fiber, thus cutting down on the time that it took and allowing states to produce more faster. Therefore, they were increasing their profit. In 1844, Samuel Morse invented the telegraph. At the time, that was huge, as messages before were taking much longer to get to people. With the telegraph, messages were able to be transported on a wire, thus making communication a lot more efficient. By the beginning of the 20th century, the Industrial Revolution was pretty much at a stopping point. The last notable invention that came from the revolution was in 1908 with the invention of the Model T. Henry T. Ford was able to produce a car on an assembly line, thus making it much more time and cost efficient for people to buy and drive as an everyday use car. Prior to this, owning an automobile was very rare, and most people that did were very affluent. So with the creation of the Model T, it basically allowed more common people to become owners of automobiles. The Industrial Revolution was significant for obvious reasons. If it hadn't taken place, we would still probably be practicing unsanitary hygiene practices as well as other non-time or cost-efficient manners of producing things. Because of the Industrial Revolution, we are able to continue to evolutionize, but it should be noted that since the Industrial Revolution, humans have only evolutionized. There's never really been anything like it where there's been a period of mass inventions and turning points in the way things are done and produced.